Welcome to Challenge Accepted, the OC Forum, presented by the Water Environment Federation's Words on Water podcast, where we deep dive into the world's premier water showdown, the legendary Operations Challenge from the Water Environment Federation. Get ready for the skills, the competition, and the ultimate showcase of wastewater excellence. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button, or follow the Water Environment Federation on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. And of course, if you're listening in podcast form, please rate and review. I'm Steve Motley, and I'm ecstatic to be joined by my friend, my co-host, the legend himself, Mr. Donnie Cagle. How you doing, Donnie?
Hey, Steve. Hey, Steve. Good evening, man. Doing well. Hope you are.
Well, glad that I'm able to do this with you. You know, I did most of my Ops Challenge career with you, so it's only fitting that we do this podcast together as well.
Yeah, cool.
So, you know, this is the first episode of Challenge Accepted. You can see kind of the graphics that we're working with here on the screen, and there's kind of one thing I want to point out to folks. So, you know, just like the NBA, who has one of the most recognizable and iconic logos around, their logo features a silhouette of Jerry West, one of the greatest guards in NBA history. So it's only fitting that the Ops Challenge logo feature the one and only competitor with 10 Division I national championships, a true legend of Operations Challenge, and that is my co-host, Mr. Donnie Cagle. So that's the logo. Hope you like it, Donnie. You can see it's a silhouette of Donnie in the collections event that's taken from this picture you see here, which would have been, I guess, our last national competition.
That was 2014. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and so they created that silhouette using that picture of you cutting the hole saw in the collections event. So pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So again, welcome to the first episode of Challenge Accepted, the OC Forum. This is something brand new for the Operations Challenge community. Throughout 2026, Donnie and myself will be dropping several episodes covering a wide range of topics, from exciting new events like today and recaps of the WEFTEC Operations Challenge, as well as several of the regional competitions, and maybe even some classic old-timer stories from Donnie and myself. We really hope that you enjoy them. If there's a topic that you'd love to see us cover, please don't hesitate to let us know, either in the comments or email opschallenge@weft.org. But before we dive into tonight's main event, we've got a few quick news and notes to kind of share with everyone. So first up, we got several regional competitions coming up. Here's if you're watching us on YouTube, you can see the graphic here that's got the list of all the 2026 regional events, as well as WEFTEC with their dates, where they're located, etc. But we got several coming up very shortly, kicking off with the Brawl at the Beach in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, for the South Carolina Environmental Conference, coming up in just a few weeks, March 15th through the 16th. We got some other events coming up. So the Rocky Mountain event, they have 6 spots open for guest teams. The contact there is Orrin West. His email is owest@metrowaterrecovery.com. Texas Water is coming up as well. They're full on teams. They have 16 teams, but they're still looking for volunteers and judges. If you're interested in that, contact Jeff Sober. His email is jlsober@garverusa.com. The New Jersey Battle by the Bay, coming up in May. They have space for teams and for volunteers and judges. Please contact Emily Zadanek, emily.zadanek@amwater.com. And finally, Florida is also looking for volunteers and judges. Please contact Ada Levy at ada.levy@ocfl.net. If you're listening, I would encourage you to go over to YouTube, the WEF's YouTube page, and watch this video. And we have a graphic with all these email addresses, etc. So if you're interested in looking for contact information, I would encourage you to go do that.
Be sure to visit the Ops Challenge Team Resource Center. There you'll find the event write-ups, how to purchase the equipment needed, event tutorials, past results, equipment, questions and answers, or you can submit your own questions for events and much more. That's rmwea.org/oc.php.
It's a fabulous resource. If you're not familiar with it, like you're at a disadvantage if you're not visiting that resource. I would say like on a weekly basis, and then maybe like as you get closer to competitions, you're going to want to check it more frequently, because questions get submitted on a daily basis. They get answered, and everything as a team you need is right there. It's definitely the ultimate resource. One of the best things that WEF did, in the last, I don't know, 10, 12 years or so. So definitely go check that out.
And congratulations to the RMWA for hosting that.
Yeah, and they had quite a successful year in 25. So we will have those folks on on a future episode where we will kind of recap WEFTEC 25. A couple of other additional updates from WEF. The WEF Operator Scholarship application period is open now. It's open through March 31st. The scholarship offers up to $5,000 for an individual to enter or advance within the field of water or wastewater operations. If there's a training or a certification you are considering but need funds to cover it, I would encourage you to apply. You can find out more about the scholarship at wef.org/opscholarship, OP scholarship. It's $5,000, supports education training, in the field of water or wastewater. Again, all this information, if you're listening in podcast form, definitely encourage you to watch the video. You see all the application requirements as well as the links.
In addition to the operator scholarship, WEF just announced a new scholarship specifically for operators. Applications are now open for the new Professor David Jenkins Operator Award and Scholarship. This award honors Professor Jenkins' legacy in educating wastewater operators and provides $10,000 to one operator working at a water resource recovery facility who is pursuing or planning to pursue additional education or training. That could be certifications, coursework, attending professional conferences, or even as an academic degree, all aimed at helping you to grow and move forward in the water sector. The deadline is April 6th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern time. Learn more and apply at wef.org/Jenkins.
And finally, Steve Harrison and a couple of Ops Challenge competitors and volunteers are hosting a leadership workshop at the upcoming WEF/AWWA Utility Management Conference being held in Charlotte, North Carolina from March 24th through the 27th. And as Workshop G, leading from the front line, empowering operators for leadership success. And that will take place on the afternoon of Tuesday, March 24th. If you're interested in attending the conference or just that workshop, you can find out more and register at wef.org/UMC2026.
Well, tonight we are thrilled to sit down with Rick Hartenstein, the new safety event coordinator for Operations Challenge. With the 2026 season kicking off soon, we're just weeks away from the action-packed Brawl at the Beach in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, happening March 15th and 16th this year. So let's give a big welcome to our special guest, Rick Hartenstein. Rick serves as a superintendent at the Water Pollution Control Facility for the Town of Stafford, Connecticut, and he's been involved with Operations Challenge since 2017. Welcome to the show, Rick. Great to have you here.
Hey guys, thank you. It's such an honor to be part of the first challenge accepted from WEF, the Ops Challenge, and to sit with you two, you guys that made history in Ops Challenge, right? I mean, seeing the logo made after you, Donnie, and Motley, the stories that I've heard of you, it's an honor to sit here with you guys.
Well, it's an honor to sit with you.
Thank you. Thanks. The new safety event, it's been challenging. It took a little bit longer than we expected, but I think we're going to have a pretty good season. I think the teams are excited for it, and I know I am. Can't wait to get to South Carolina to see how it's going to make out.
Well, seeing some of the emails run around or go back and forth about this, but Rick, before we jump into the details of this year's safety event, we'd love to take a few minutes to hear about your racing career and your involvement in the racing world. Could you share a little bit about that? What's your favorite race car division? Prefer asphalt or dirt? How does that tie into your racing involvement with Ops Challenge?
Oh, well, that goes back a few years. Back when I thought money grew on trees and was growing up, I wanted to be a race car driver and maybe run Daytona 500 someday. Wishful thinking. But we started out in enduro racing, did pretty well. Thought I'd move up a couple divisions, and as you see on the screen, in late model division, we ran at Riverside Park in Massachusetts, and we did okay for our first year. We got Rookie of the Year and won a couple races, and then I realized that the money wasn't growing on trees, and had a family and got married, so decided to jump into maybe being on the safety crew at the Stafford Motor Speedway. And at Stafford, since 1977, my dad used to take my sister and I to the races every Friday night, and it kind of has a part in my heart, I guess to say. So every Friday night, I'm at the track with a safety crew, make sure the drivers are safe, and clean up the track after some wrecks. As you can see there, that car rolled over, and you gotta keep the drivers calm to get them out safely and roll the cars back over. So that's what we do on Friday nights.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I think I was telling you before we started recording, Rick, when I found that picture, it was an article where they were interviewing that particular driver, and he was talking about how you helped keep him calm, during the I guess, like, after the wreck and all that, and so he was really appreciative. So I assume I know the answer to this question, but like, do you have a preference between dirt track and asphalt?
Dirt track is fun to watch. The cars going sideways and dust flying everywhere, and you're chewing the grit all the way home from the track. But I would prefer asphalt. If I was to pick, Stafford, obviously, like I said, it's really a part of me, and I've worked there for 27 years. I think it's 27 years, 28 years this year. On every Friday night, we're pretty committed to doing it. So I like the asphalt side of it.
I gotta imagine, like, being involved in racing from a racer yourself to being involved with the safety crew, etc. Like, that had to at least give you some advantages in terms of preparing for Ops Challenge, right? Knowing how folks read between the lines, where there's gray area, things like that, and kind of what to expect in a competition.
Yeah, the racers are much like our Ops Challenge teams. Everybody's looking for that little advantage. They all want to win tonight. Their cars always go fast, and it's like watching our teams. From the most competitive to the rookie teams, everybody tries 110%. And racing is much like Ops Challenge, right? You have the experienced teams that come in. They work hard, but the rookie teams, they can surprise you, and they can come in, and we see that in Ops Challenge too, right? They come in and they can really put a cheer out and do well.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, it doesn't take long in cars and racing to learn that it's not cubic inches, it's cubic dollars.
Yeah, you could say that again.
Yeah.
All right, Rick. Now let's dive into this new safety event for 2026. Can you kind of start us off with like an overview of this new event, what it's all about, and what teams can expect?
Sure. So when we sat down to design the new safety event, a couple of things that I felt safety-wise, I wanted to change the manhole cover. We used that net. And I always was surprised that nobody tripped, fell into it. I just didn't like it. So we worked with Manhole Covers Direct, came up with a solution, and now we're going to have a solid cover. One of the concerns that we had was the cover being too heavy for people to pull off, right? I mean, we all know what manhole covers weigh. So working with them was a benefit. We had one on display at WEF last year at Ops Challenge, and we realized that it was a lot heavier than what we were hoping for. So we went back to the drawing board after the WEFTEC, and we came up with the new cover. Currently, it's 51 pounds. It's got the really cool logo on it, and a couple of the safety handles. And we think now that the operators will be able to grab it, take it off, and not have to worry about hurting themselves doing it. So that was the first thing we looked at. The check valves have been part of the safety event for quite a long time, and it was time to move on. Yeah. So, we looked at doing something different there, and after trying to have something equal in time, but be able to be challenging to our teams, we came up with the Xylem membranes. I'm sure you guys are familiar with these.
So they're actually the membranes and not the ceramic diffusers, then, correct?
Yeah, they're the rubber membranes. Talking to Xylem about the ceramic, as you say, we were worried if somebody dropped one, it would shatter.
Yeah, I'm sure it would.
Yeah, we know our teams try to go fast and cut corners, whatever we can, and we wouldn't want to see that. So we came up with these. We felt 5 membranes, replacing 5 of them would be a good benefit to the challenge. One of the things that I was concerned about was how can we tell if the ring is tight on the membrane? And working with Xylem, we said, let's come up with a torque spec. So that was how the 30-inch, the 30 foot-pounds are going to be were set, so we can actually test them and make sure that the teams do it evenly.
So looking at that picture, Rick, that the tightening apparatus that's across the center diffuser, is there like a socket? Is there a socket attachment or whatever in the center, and that's where you put the torque wrench?
Yeah. So originally, Xylem didn't have any type of torque spec for them, so they made the tool for us specifically, and they put a 3/8 socket in the tool, so we could put a 3/8 torque wrench on it. And then after discussion with their representative, they actually implemented that in their installation for their product. So it was pretty cool that Ops Challenge was the first part of them putting it in.
Nice. Now, are they and I know I know Xylem has bought and sold, bought companies or acquired companies over the years. Back in my wastewater treatment days, we used to have, they were called sanitaire diffusers. Is this the old sanitaire, or is it just something similar to it? Because they look a lot like the ones that we used to use when I worked back at HRSD.
Yeah, so they actually are.
Okay.
They still have the logo on them, or the stamp on them with that name on it.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think a lot of teams and operators in the field are comfortable doing this event. I had the pleasure to go to New York a couple weeks ago and lay this out on their platform, and they told me that they just changed like 13,000 or something diffusers recently.
Right.
So, yeah, so hopefully it fits into the everyday operations, because we as wastewater operators don't change check valves very often, but we see stuff like this on a regular basis.
Oh, yeah, certainly. It's a nice change.
When you and I were talking through email, Rick, one of the questions I had was about grease, and like you explained to me like how important the grease is. Can you tell our listeners about that?
Sure. Yeah. It kind of goes back to the same thing of, if there isn't grease on the torque spec, let's just take rubber and plastic and put it together, and it's going to bind. So we use a couple of 3 little dots, and we're we're going to say less than a pea size. It doesn't need much. So you'll wipe off the disc around the outside, make sure there's no grit, sand, dirt, whatever on it, because if there's a little bit of grease left over, you'll have that on there. So you wipe it off, you tell the judge, I'm wiping and cleaning the membrane. You put 3 little dabs of grease on the white retaining ring with the wooden stick, and then you spin it on, and then you won't have the bind.
Okay.
You know, we're not looking for a whole bunch of grease. We're not looking for grease over the top of it. You know, that's not what it is. It's not silly putty or something.
So you don't want if a little's more, a lot's better.
Yeah. A lot is not better. Yeah, so they'll put those dabs on, you know, as we said in the rules. One team member must remove, replace, and tighten 2 of the rings and membranes. You know, so while somebody's working rescue and Randy, the other entrant can't run over and loosen and take everything all apart. So everybody has to be participating and be part of it.
Okay.
So the 2 guys going down, each of them have to physically do at least 2 membranes.
Yes, correct. You have to remove, replace, and tighten.
What do you think will be the biggest challenge for the teams in this year's safety event?
Well, that's probably going to be some work for people to get used to. You know, the tripod is the same, so we've had that for a few years now, and their teams are used to using that.
So it's still the DBS Xylem.
It is, yep.
Okay.
Yep. Trying to keep some costs down for the team. You know, 3M supported us and donated for the Ops Challenge. They donated the safety equipment a few years back, so you know they wanted to stay on board. And again, it's cost money to the teams, right? So
Certainly.
we did the adjustments. We added the Victaulic valve with the air release, and then the diffusers and the manhole cover. You know, it adds up, as you guys know.
Oh, certainly.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say the hardest part will either be the new electronic permit or getting in a good rhythm to change the diffuser membranes. And I can't wait to get to South Carolina.
This will be ran at Myrtle Beach, right? I mean, I guess the first time will be Myrtle Beach.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And will you be there?
I will be. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I won't miss that. That should be a lot of fun.
It is. It's a lot of fun every year. You know, you and I were again talking offline. You were telling me about the blower, and teams actually have to, you know, power on the blower this year, which is something different. Can you tell us about that and maybe what the reasoning behind that was?
Well, my predecessor, Mr. Tim Scott, always mentioned in the background that he wanted to have the blower live. So I guess this is in honor of him. I wanted to implement it. We had the opportunity to do it, and I think it'll be challenging for the teams, because if we think about how we put it together, you know, if it's not perfect, it still stays together, we're okay. But now that there's air running through it, everything's going to have to be put together and put together correctly.
And the other thing, I think, is from a judging perspective, like before, I guess you guys were looking at the switch on off, but like now there's no question, right? Like it's either running or it's not.
Yeah. Well, there's no more. I put it on, and the judge, yeah, I think he did it. No, we're going to hear it. We're going to see how it works, and it's an exciting part to add to it, you know. So for that, I say thanks to Tim, and I'm doing it for you.
Let's talk about the platform layout. What's, you know, you got the new diffuser set up, etc. What else has changed in this layout from 2025?
So the blower equipment is going to stay where it is. Obviously, the reason why is that's where we have asked for the power to be supplied to. So we can't move the blower around. I know some teams like to switch the corners, whatever they feel comfortable with, but at WEF, that's where the power is going to be. Victaulic setup, same thing. That's in showing that there's piping coming up and the piping going down to the diffuser. That's the closest corner to the diffuser. It's simulating it, so that's where that has to stay. The tripod and the SRLs, that's the same as last year. Those were the last few years. That's where they were, and I just felt it was better to leave those there. The gas meter, the diffuser and toolboxes and stuff, that can be moved around. The description that I have in the rules is so every team will have it starting the way we see it in the rules. You know, at certain times the judges like to mess with the teams, and we would shuffle stuff all around so they wouldn't know. I mean, at WEF, everybody started with the same, but you may have never seen that setup in the beginning. And I wanted to have everything the same. So the teams will practice from the start. They can move it around during their 3 minutes, but they'll see it the same start every time.
Now, I assume there are things like that they can't move. Like they can't, like, obviously move the Victaulic setup. They can't move the blower equipment. Do they have to put that stuff back in the same spot, or they just have to make sure it's across the line, the stuff that they can move at the end?
So the blower needs to go back to the main unit will be back in that corner. If the elbow, the plate isn't in that area, it's okay. It can finish in a different way than it starts.
But you want the actual blower itself in that corner.
The blower unit needs to be replaced in that corner.
Are there any limitations, like as far as like when they run the event, to where they can move that actual blower to, or they're allowed, you know, long? Obviously, you have to have enough extension cord, but like, is there any limitations as far as that goes?
No, the cord is only so long, and you know, it's up to them to feel the most comfortable on where they want to place it. They could move it out 4 feet and have the hose over to the hole. That was kind of the way I thought it when I laid it out for them. But you know, every team is going to be a little bit different, and they can move it around.
So just kind of running through some pictures here. This is the setup, I guess, from left to right, where you kind of start with the blower, and then you see the SRL, the SRLs, and you see the end of the tripod there, and then here you have the tripod, the SRLs, the winches, etc. And then on the far side, you have the tools and the diffuser equipment and the valve setup. So let's talk a little bit about the valve setup. Here's a better picture of that valve setup. What are teams going to be required to do here?
So in the beginning of the event, before the gas readings are taken, right in the picture, the valve is closed. They will start with the valve open, and the yellow handle relief valve will be closed. They'll have to close it in this position, put a hasp on it, and the 2 locks for the operators, and then open up the relief valve. It's simulating if there was any pressure in that residual pipe, the residual pressure in the pipe, then the relief valve would release it. One of the reasons why we don't want them to take the gas readings before that valve is closed, because simulating, it could be putting air somewhere and not giving you a true reading on the gas meter.
So basically they're simulating closing the aeration header to the diffusers.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So where the red handle valve in the picture, that's where they're going to put their lockout tagout equipment.
Yeah, there's a hole, so you only have to have one hasp this year. It'll go right in that. And teams should be familiar with this, because you it's the same one as in the collection system. So they'll put it on there. Oh, go ahead.
Good
Sorry.
question for you, Rick. I see on that that valve, that butterfly valve assembly, whatever there actually is a provision. There is a hole and a provision to lock that thing open too. Will it be locked open ever, or will there not be a hasp in that position when they start?
There will not be. The
Okay.
the hasp and the locks and the tags will be on the lockout tag
Okay.
board. Yep. And they'll have to take them off of that. So it's a good little prop. So we call it. It would have, in reality, it would have a useful. It would be useful. It would be in use, I guess, is the better way to say it. And then again, we would release the valve. We would release the air off the yellow valve. Now, what's interesting is on that yellow valve, there's a little lock, and it's a little slide piece. And if you don't slide it up, that valve is not going to move.
Right.
So that'll be something that the teams will have to practice for sure.
And like you said, it's the teams, if they have the collections of any equipment, they already have that valve. So that's one thing they can reuse that here, right? Versus having to, obviously they could buy another one if they wanted to, but they don't have to necessarily buy another one.
Sure. Now, of course, we want to support Victaulic, that they were nice enough to support us in Ops Challenge, and we'd want them to buy another one. But realistically, no, they don't have to.
Well, the nice thing about it too is if teams over the course of the next 4 years get really, really good and efficient like they typically do. I mean, I guess you could, at some point in time, you could always replacing, taking the Victaulic clamp off the end and changing the vent valve or blow off valve, or they could really do something on that as well, couldn't they?
Yeah, that it gives us options for the future.
Yeah.
And I did write in something in the rules. I had another thought that I wanted to do this year, but I felt there was too many changes, so I wrote it into the rules. If somebody reads it, it'll probably throw the light bulb next year when I implement it, but that's next year.
You mentioned the ops control platform, so that's teams that have competed in the past should be familiar with that platform from the maintenance event as we switched to that last year. But you're bringing that into the safety event with this electronic confined space work entry permit. What are the key things that teams need to know about that?
Practice. So
when Steve was going through that picture, the list of pictures, is that going to be on an iPad or a tablet or is it going to be a laptop? I mean, like in the maintenance event, it's actually on a laptop at the. I just didn't sure. I wasn't sure where the placement of that was. Is that something they carry with them during the event, or?
So it's actually it's right next to the lockout tagout board. There's a file cabinet we've added in the last revision of the rules, and it's an iPad.
Okay.
It'll be on that. What we found when we ran through this for the first time is if we left an iPad on the platform, we could see it getting broken very quickly. So we've added just a wall filing cabinet, a file folder that will sit right next to the lockout tagout board, and the iPad will start there and it will finish there.
Okay.
Yeah, and not to change subjects real quick, but Donnie mentioned about the maintenance event last year that was all on a laptop. This year in the maintenance event, it'll also be on an iPad. So you'll be using iPad for both events, safety and maintenance. When I was looking over the team at the Team Resource Center, again, check that out if you guys haven't. I saw a lot of questions about the diffusers, mostly about like, how are you mounting them? What's that going to look like? Where are they going to be? What can you tell us about that?
So what I've come up with is the diffusers come with the holding brackets, and they mount to the existing pipe. And what I did is I took a 3/4 inch plywood, cut it in half so it's 8 feet long, 2 feet wide, and I centered the pipe on that. I used 2 carriage bolts from the bottom up and tightened them with nuts and lock washers. That's pretty stable. When you're changing the diffusers, you're pretty much kneeling on that board. And we're not torquing it to a high number. There's no excessive movement with it. So I think that works fine. We've had 3 or 4 run-ins with this so far, and I haven't had any issues at all. One of the nice things at WEF we have is those rubber mats. And my thought is we'll put a couple of rubber mats underneath it. A couple of reasons. If the team isn't kneeling on the board, if they're not that close, their knees won't hurt. And then secondly, it will give the board a little cushion, let's say, if the carriage bolt is making it a little wobbly.
Will there be spares? I mean, something always happens. Will you have spare rings or spare membranes accessible? Should the team pinch one, crack one, or will they just put the failed one back on and be penalized?
Well, the event starts with 2 spare rings because they're replacing 2 of them because 2 of them are broken, and they'll be marked if it is, marked for the broken ones. And if they break one during the event, they'll be penalized. We're going to make sure that every ring is correct when we start, and every membrane is to the spec. Do we have spares if something gets broken? As ops challenge, yes, we will have spares if something happened.
Now, will they be marked in such a? I mean, I'm just trying to figure out like the reset of it. Will the judges have to go back after the team runs and change 2 of the rings, or is it just like an identifiable sticker that's stuck to it to say which ones are bad, or what's the plan for that?
That's a good question. There was 2 ways that I looked at it. I thought about we wouldn't have to change them out just to conserve time, because we know with 50 plus teams running, time is not on our side, especially the safety event. We always seem like the last ones to finish up for the day, but it's great. I love the safety event.
Absolutely.
I think we're going to have to start with 5 plain rings, and there'll be 2 rings on the platform that will need to be changed out, and they will be painted in a different, or have a mark at least in a different color. And it'll be up to the teams. At this point, we're going to say it'll be up to the teams to decide which ones they want to change out.
Okay. So there will be a reset, but it'll be minimal.
It will be a minimal reset, yeah.
Okay.
Because the judges are going to have to check the torque on the ring itself, so it'll be easy enough to spin off. But Donnie, you're already thinking about how are you able to go a little bit better. I see.
Hey man, the competitor in me is just it's hard to turn it off.
One thing, I guess, for just for my own knowledge, like based on this layout, it looks like the diffusers are going where the old valves were previously. Is that right? That is correct. And in the way the platforms are set up at WEF, we get a lot of participation from the audience and cheering on, and we want to be able to let them see what's happening. So yes.
Have you been getting a lot of questions about it already, or either through the forum or through conversations with other challenge personnel? Or
there's been a lot of good conversation, and Donnie and I were, or Motley and I were talking before. I was one person putting this together, and I had probably a half a dozen people read the rules before we submitted it and put it out there. But now there's like 400 people that are reading the rules, and everybody has different thoughts, right? So I would just say, if to people, read the rules a few times before you just send out the questions. If I'm always happy to answer the questions, but I think a lot of it is in the rules. At least I hope it is.
Well, and, like I was telling you, Rick, before we started recording, like this first year, like this is like the worst year, because in terms of like changes, because things are going to happen that no one thought or foresaw, or your teams are going to do things they shouldn't do, and so like this is we'll find out, I guess, here in a couple of weeks at Myrtle Beach, but this is this will be the year when you see a lot of those changes, like you said, to kind of address any issues that kind of arise on the fly, so to speak.
Yeah, hopefully we were getting more information back. This is the 4th version out right now, but I don't see that changing or adding anything to it until hopefully the rest of the year. But I'm sure we may have to make some changes after people run it.
Yeah. I mean,
still looking at 4 judges. Still looking at 4 judges on this one, or?
Yeah, minimum of 4.
Okay.
Three is okay, but I would rather see 4 or 5.
Okay.
Yeah, we're still working on the penalty sheets. We got a pretty good draft going. That should be posted within the next few days. And then I'll have the judges' instructions. Hopefully we'll get that done soon too.
Is there anything, we've talked a lot about the changes, but is there anything that we haven't talked about that we need to talk about with the event in terms of changes, or things that have been generating a lot of questions from the teams that maybe we haven't discussed?
I think we covered most of it. I think it's been a really good conversation. The rescue Randy, we always say, gotta handle Randy like an injured person. We don't want to throw him around. That definitely will be a penalty this year. You make another good thing. The gas readings, taking the meter, the attendant, when they take the readings, they have to be by the meter and they have to pay attention to the meter. They're not allowed to do anything else until that is done. It's always been question of, how far away can I be? And I'm looking at it, but I'm not looking at it all the time. We took that out. You have to be in front of that meter and you have to watch it 30 seconds. So, and it changes, I think with the other events, the check valves and stuff, they packed the bag, they wrote out the permit. This is a little more smooth with the electronic permit, and the bag, there's not as much stuff going in there. The lockout tag out already happens up on top of the platform, so that's not being put in the bag. So I think the attendant, that 30 seconds, they can devote just to the gas meter.
I mean, it's an important task, right? Like I would think, like in the real world, you're paying attention to that, because
that's the most 30. That's the most important 30 seconds.
Yeah, for sure, right?
I mean, it really is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What's your you got any ballpark figures of what it's going to be ran in time wise or whatever? If you had to guess, knowing what you know about the old safety vent and thinking about these incorporations or whatever.
I'm going to think that it could be a little bit quicker. And I think that because of the lockout tag out, everybody only has one lock and one tag instead of 2.
Right.
It happens up top instead of running over and filling everything out down below. The diffusers, I think, can go pretty quick. One thing that we've noticed, and we implemented the 2 screwdrivers for it, was the rubber membrane can kind of get stuck in the groove, and it's designed to do that. So, you use the screwdriver just a little bit.
Part of the sealing process for the diffuser.
Yeah, Yeah,
Yeah.
so that might take a little time for inexperienced teams that haven't practiced as much as the experienced teams. But we'll go back to the rookie thing. Rookies win too.
Yeah. And I guess, I mean, probably goes without saying, but I know like on, Steve and I are more familiar with the pump event from judging the past couple of years. And of course, him being the previous coordinator or whatever, but I guess on mornings of competition, will those diffusers be taken apart and put back together so that every team will have the same advantage or disadvantage?
Yeah, so every diffuser will be taken off. A little bit of grease will be put on every single rubber, just to make sure that it's, we're not pinching it to a sense that doesn't work right. We'll try to keep everything equal for every team. But yes, everything has to be cleaned and put together every morning.
Okay. All right.
And
Yeah,
then
'cause it's amazing how much something can stick just overnight. I mean, we've found that out, for forever in the pump event. You just bolt a flange together and tighten it, and then the next morning you have to hit it with a dead blow to get it off. But if you're the first team, and then the second team doesn't have that problem because it's only been together for 15 or 20 minutes. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point. I'd like to have the teams give me a little feedback too, if they're finding that the 30 foot-pounds is too much. We did it numerous times. I've done it numerous times before we even implemented any of this and didn't find anything. But if the teams themselves are having some issues with something, I'd like to have a little feedback. So don't be afraid to reach out for sure.
I'm sure you'll get plenty of it in about 3 weeks.
Absolutely. That's a good segue. Like, if teams have questions and or they're looking for answers, or they need to order the equipment, again, I just want to plug the National Ops Challenge Team Resource Center, www.rmwea.org/oc.php. There you can submit questions to Rick, and he'll answer them. It sends Rick an email. He'll get an automated message, and then he'll submit the answer, and they'll post it up on the site. You also get to see what other teams have already asked. So definitely check that before you submit your question, because your question may have already been asked. So look through the other questions and answers, and if your question isn't there, then definitely submit it. Rick get you an answer. And if you need to order the equipment, all that information is there, not just for the safety event, but any of the other events. You have the layouts, the event descriptions, write-ups, etc. Again, a phenomenal resource, and encourage folks to use it. Rick will find out with a new event, like you'll have the most questions out of everybody else. Like you look at the pump event, which is in its fourth year. There usually aren't so many questions because they've done it so often. Whereas in the new event, like you'll get inundated with questions, Rick. But as time goes by, it'll become less and less as teams get more and more familiar.
Yeah, we're trying to make sure it's it's defined well for everybody, and people understand it. So the questions I appreciate, and any concerns I'd appreciate as well. But the Ops Challenge world is awesome. To get new people in and have supervisors and plant managers allow their employees to go and be on a team, and it's just a great family. We'll call it a family, right? Ops Challenge family. It's something.
What attracted you to get involved in it, Rick?
Oh, that's interesting. I did an operator exchange program in Rhode Island, and I went to their event, and this was way back, and I didn't know anything about it. And I thought it was really cool. And when I saw the new logo, I was like, oh, that was one of the things. I tried to cut the pipe, and my time wasn't anything exciting that somebody'd want me on their team. But so Scott Goodson, who is the past president of NUIA, got me involved. And then when I went out to WEF, because we were doing a project in my plant, and I was looking for some vendors. So I stumbled across, the WEF Ops Challenge, and I'm like, I want to be part of that. So the next year, I saw Scott at our annual conference, and I said, Scott, how do I get involved in this? And he's like, come with me. So the next thing I knew, I became the coordinator of the safety event here in New England. And then it's just kind of led on to that. Tim asked me if I wanted to be his co-coordinator. And, like I said before, I'm not sure I want to be his friend anymore, but, it's been fun.
Tim has that effect on people. No, I love Tim.
Yeah, no, it's been great. He's been a super help, putting this all together, and any questions I had, he's always been there. So that's kind of, never competed myself, but been on the judge side.
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
Glad you're here.
Thanks. It's been a ride.
Yeah, Rick. Appreciate it, man, and look forward to seeing you here in a couple of weeks in Myrtle Beach. And we just want to thank you for taking so much time out of your day to join us, walk us through this new safety event. We really appreciate it, and appreciate you breaking it down for everybody.
Yeah, well, thanks for the opportunity. I'm really excited to see the first runs, and to sit here with two legends, it doesn't get any better than this.
Thanks for your time. I certainly appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you. Look forward to seeing the event, and South Carolina puts on a good show.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Rick.
All right.
Thanks, Rick. Have a good evening.
All right. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button, or follow the Water Environment Federation on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. If you're listening to us on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, please subscribe and leave those 5-star ratings and reviews. They really help us out. We will be back in April with a wrap-up of the first Regional Ops Challenge competition, the Brawl at the Beach in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And we will also be talking with the teams from the Rocky Mountain Water Environment Association about their success at WEFTEC 25. So be sure to tune into that. Speaking of Myrtle Beach, Donnie, are you ready to defend your putt championship title?
I am, and I'm not quite as sophisticated as Mr. Harrison. I think he's got his scorecard from the first year. It's actually it's encased in like a labyrinth, like a Indiana Jones meets Mission Impossible. I mean, I think it's got smoke and mirrors and laser lights, and but I do have my scorecard from last year. I don't think it'll show up, but whatever. But no, it's always a good time. I hope that Miss Stephanie Vaughn can make it this year. She was at the inaugural. So
yeah. So for those not familiar, I don't know. We'll be doing it, I guess, 3 years now. This will be the 4th year, I think. But me, Donnie, Jessica, Steve, and Stephanie started. We played putt, had a little putt competition. Sometimes some others join us. But the inaugural year, Donnie lost. Steve Harrison won the competition. But Steve might have won the inaugural competition. He won the first putt championship. But the most memorable event, or the thing that folks remember the most, isn't really Steve winning. They remember this shot by Donnie. So we're on the last hole. The last hole it slopes down, so your ball picks up a little speed. Well, Donnie hit it a little too hard, and it jumped off that particular hole. Jumped over the bricks and landed on another hole. It's kind of like in this picture. It's kind of, I think, behind us, right, where it landed, somewhere on where those people behind us are, where that rock is.
Right. That's right. That's exactly right.
And Donnie made a pretty incredible shot. Like he didn't take a drop. He actually played it off that other hole, jumped it back up on the hole. I actually, thanks to Stephanie, I actually have the video of it. So I'm gonna show that real quick.
He got it back on the hole.
But there's a chance. There's a chance. It's coming. If you
And I'm back
get
with
that-
Stephanie.
Yeah.
At the end there. And then I think Donnie went on to the last 2 years, Donnie has won. So Steve Harrison's coming back to try to reclaim his title. But yeah, good times. Appreciate everybody for listening. And like I said, tune in April, and we'll be back with that wrap up of Myrtle Beach. We'll update you on who won the putt championship this year. And if we have any cool shots, we'll try to remember and take some videos.
Yep, certainly will. I'll look forward to seeing everybody in a couple of weeks, and look forward to seeing you and our annual boys trip to Myrtle Beach. Always a good time spending time with my brother and my brother from another mother, and just leave you with a thought. It's not my saying, but it's one that I really, really like. Yesterday is history, tomorrow's a mystery, and today is a gift. That's why they call it the present.